All right, guys, so we actually got some policy to talk about today. Yes, I know, policy, boring, snooze fest, I get it. But, hey, this is a policy-focused channel, okay? As we have Mitt Romney and Kyrsten Sinema teaming up on a proposal to raise the minimum wage. So, yes, we are back talking about raising the minimum wage again. And just to remind you guys, the minimum wage, the progressives want to raise it to $15 an hour, okay? And it didn't go through because Biden really didn't want it, right? They tried to get it into the COVID bill. The Senate parliamentarian said no. Kamala could have overturned it with permission from Joe Biden. Biden obviously said no, so they didn't overturn it and they didn't get it. And then the progressives, when the bill went back to the House, right after they stripped it out of the Senate, the $15 hour minimum wage, they decided to go along with the COVID bill without the $15 hour minimum wage, okay? And after that, though, it still hasn't really died down, right? Usually when stuff like that happens, it's kind of over. But it's not. And the reason why is because you have Mitt Romney and Tom Cotton, who are Republicans, have proposed their own versions of minimum wage, right? In which they want to raise it to a more reasonable $11 an hour-ish, right? Right in line with what Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin want to do as well with the Democrats. And Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin have become public enemy number one for the Democrats because they are kind of in opposition to the $15 an hour minimum wage because there was a vote in the Senate to try to get it in the bill anyways. Bernie tried to, make that happen. But, Kyrsten Sinema famously or infamously voted no, right? She said no, not about it, right? And then you also have Josh Hawley, who has proposed a minimum wage increase of $15 an hour, but only for big publicly traded companies. Okay, so there is an appetite in Congress to raise the minimum wage. Like, make no mistake about it. It's just that the progressives don't understand politics. They don't understand that Congress is not built for extremists. Okay, extremists will not survive in Congress. That's just how it is. Okay, and they don't understand that. So they hate Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema because they're not extremists, right? And the people that are not extremists, like Mitt Romney and Tom Cotton and Josh Hawley and Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, they're still trying to actually make this thing happen. Okay, so let's read a little bit more about this because Kyrsten Sinema is getting some heat for this. She's getting some heat from the progressives for working with Mitt Romney, and she has the most hilarious response ever. But let's read a little bit more about what they're working on. Republican Senator Mitt Romney and Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema are teaming up on a proposal to raise the federal minimum wage, which has not been increased since 2009. Romney told reporters Wednesday that he and Sinema are working on a plan which they will present to a bipartisan group of 20 centrist senators. Quote, we're negotiating a minimum wage proposal which we would ultimately take to our group of 20 and see how they react to it and then go from there, Romney said. Quote, we've pretty much come to the meeting of the minds among ourselves, meaning Senator Sinema and myself, but there are many other people who want to be a part of that discussion. Romney did not provide details about the timeline for the wage hike or what the new minimum wage would be, although Democratic Senator Joe Manchin told reporters on Wednesday that he believed the measure would raise the wage to $11 per hour. The tentative proposal by Romney and Sinema was first reported by HuffPost. A spokesperson for Romney confirmed that the senator is holding discussions on raising the minimum wage. All right, so we don't know exactly what the timeline is going to be, but they are looking at a ballpark of probably $10 to $12 an hour, most likely $11 an hour. Okay. Now, like I said, guys, Congress is not built for extremists, but that does not satisfy the progressives. Okay. Because our favorite progressives, TYT, decided to go off, right? Not only on Romney and Sinema, right, for, coming up with, a lesser proposal, right, than the $15 hour minimum wage, but they also go in on progressives who basically caved on the fight for the $15 hour minimum wage in the first place. Take a listen.
Did the 33 million Americans who would be affected by increasing the minimum wage, did they get their increase or did they not? They didn't. I don't care what you propose. I care what you fight for and what you win for. Hey, by the way, if you can win without fighting, great. Who wants to start a fight for no reason? I don't. It doesn't make me feel good. It's uncomfortable. I know it's uncomfortable, right? But we didn't send you to be comfortable. I don't care about your comfort. I care about the comfort of those 33 million Americans who desperately need an increase in their wages. So this is the most important part. Time explains when a $15 minimum wage increase fell out of the package because of the Senate rules, some Democrats considered withholding their votes entirely. That's true. There actually are really good just Democrats internally. They fought. All right, they fought. Time magazine explains, Jayapal helped persuade those members to support the deal, and it passed almost entirely along party lines. In other words, she talked them out of fighting. She talked them out of making a demand. Like, look, we've done the Frederick Douglass quote 1,000 times, and if you're a progressive and you don't know it, especially if you're a legislator, you should study up on it. Power never, not sometimes, never concedes without a demand. Jayapal is bragging in the mainstream media about how she never makes demands. She just makes propositions. Well, I proposed something, isn't that good enough? Oh, it didn't pass, it's never gonna pass. Oh, we're gonna pass the corporate version that a Republican and Kristen Sinema who rubbed our faces in it about how she bragged about how she killed the minimum wage. And she did a little dance as she killed the minimum wage. And we're gonna go with their version because you chose not to do anything and not to have a strategy.
All right, so that's hilarious, right? That's funny, okay? And I have more to comment on that. But first thing I want to show is they said this, I think probably 3 or 4 days ago when this came out, right? TYT released this video. Kyrsten Sinema on Instagram yesterday released this photo of her drinking what looks to be an alcoholic beverage. And if you look at her ring, it has the words F off on the ring, okay? So remember, first, she was the one, when she voted down on the minimum wage, she kind of did the old dancing like,
Miss Sinema, no.
Thing, right? And now all of a sudden, after the progressive backlash, right? That's what made the progressives really, really hate her, right? Go after her hard. She's wearing a ring that says F off. Who do you think she's talking to, right? She may not be responding to TYT directly. Maybe she is. But she's talking to the progressives. She's telling them to F off, okay? And I find that absolutely hilarious. And the irony of this is just incredible, right? Because Kyrsten Sinema exemplifies all of the identity politics that they claim they love so much, right? She's a woman. She's a part of LGBTQ. She dresses weird. She dresses like a woke person. I'm pretty sure she's socially woke, right? She's just not super liberal economically, right? And it's funny because this is what you sign up for, right? When y'all want to push this whole like woke, this, gender identity politics, this is what you get, right? You get all the identity, but you might not get the politics you like, right? I think Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are making a lot of, good friends in the Republican Party because McConnell apparently wants the GOP to say nice things about them, okay? Because they are holding up the socialist agenda of the far left Democrats. So good for them. But what I really want to talk about here is the fact that, the progressives, right? TYT, Cenk, Anna Kasparian. It's like, you guys have been covering politics for so long, but I really don't understand how they're so ignorant about politics. If you really want a $15 an hour minimum wage, which I don't, I'm not for the minimum wage increase at all. But, at the end of the day, like, I think it's a state issue. If states want to increase the minimum wage, like, they can do that because they are the best judges of their economy. I think that the federal government doing that is a little bit of overkill because all the states across the country, their economies and their small businesses may not be able to handle that, okay? So I don't think the federal government doing it is a good idea. I think you can see a bunch of states, even Republican states, that have already raised the minimum wage, right? To 10, 11, 12, $13 an hour. I mean, Florida is a moderate state. They've raised their minimum wage to $15 an hour. So it's going to happen, right? States are going to make it happen if it's good policy. Now, what the extremists, right, the progressives don't understand is that you guys hate the proposal for $11 minimum wage, but that's actually how you get to a $15 hour minimum wage, right? You can't just propose doubling the minimum wage at the federal level so that states with lower cost of living, right, such as these red rural areas, have to adopt that even over a long period of time, even over 4 years. That's still a big jump, right? Nobody's going to want to get behind that. People that come from more low income states like Joe Manchin are not going to want to put that type of pressure on small businesses in that state that quickly, right? Even if they do believe in raising the minimum wage. So what you have to do politically in order to get it done, if you want to do it, is you have to do what Romney and Kyrsten Sinema are doing. You have to raise it to $11 first. And then once you raise it to $11, you say, okay, what impact did this have on jobs, right? Did rural areas lose jobs? Did they, were they hurt by this? What is the lower cost of living states, were they hurt by this? Those are the questions that you got to ask, and you need answers to those questions. So it's safer for you to go to $11 first, and then after you go to $11, then you fight for $15. You don't go from $7.25 to $15 an hour. That's not how politics works. That Congress is literally not built for that, right? That's literally how the founders built our government. They built our government to weed out extremism. People honestly need to understand this, right? They are frustrated with the way Congress works, but I'm telling you, centrists honestly pass the most policy in Congress because that's what it's built to do, right? It's built for compromise. But yet you see these extremists, the progressives, going after Senator, going after Joe Manchin for basically doing what's actually in their best interest. Because again, you're never going to jump from $7.25 to $15 an hour. It's just not going to happen. You have to go in between first and then reevaluate. That's what you have to do. And I'm not even like rooting for this. This is strictly a political analysis video. I just find it funny how these people whine and cry and complain when things are actually going your way. The fact that a Republican and a group of bipartisan Republicans actually want to raise the minimum wage is a win for your cause, right? That's actually a win, okay? Because that means that realistically, with Schumer being the leader of the Senate and Nancy Pelosi leading the House, that means that this is something that can actually pass, right? This is something that will actually happen. And some wage increase, if you really feel that it's best for the people, if you really feel that way, some wage increase is better than no wage increase, even if you don't get everything that you want, right? If you really feel that way. But it's funny how they don't think about it like that. There's some things I do think that, whether it's left or right, whether you in the extreme ends of the party, I think there's some things you just probably don't fold on, right? There's some things you don't necessarily compromise on. But this issue right here is different because there's a natural progression to get the way you want to be. And another example of progressive policy, I don't understand, like, you don't go from no government health care to Bernie Sanders style Medicare for all. You don't do that. Like, you can't. You have to go incrementally in steps if you want to get there, right? But anyways, it is what it is. Who knows whether or not this is something that is going to gain some steam in Congress. But I wouldn't be surprised if it does because, again, all they need is 10 Republicans to get behind it. And if Romney's leading it, there are a group of Republicans that are, Romney-like, but, a lot of Trump people don't like him, that are actually trying to work with the Biden administration on some things. And this is just one of those issues that they're trying to work with Biden on. So who knows? I think this is something that don't be surprised if it actually gets done, and it doesn't necessarily need to be done in any kind of weird way because they probably will have a Republican support for the most part. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.